when you're dealing with clients and you're giving information, you're providing information to them, at no cost. You're counseling them through their situation. And then eventually, hopefully you've gained their trust in order to actually complete the transaction, right? So there's a lot of give on social, a lot of give of your time, a lot of opening yourself up to show who you are as a person. And then hopefully getting that person's trust and being able to close the deal.
Yeah. Well, I think that's exactly right. And I think I think given the current state of the industry, it's like the trust, as you've put it, is going to be the most valuable currency. It's not about, hey, how quickly can you get my deal done? And it's not going to be about rate because that's so competitive now. It is going to be about that trust. And it's like, I'm working with you because I trust you, because I know that you have my best interests in mind. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Mortgage Tech Talks. Today, I speak with Karen Wilson. Karen is the owner, founder, I guess you could say, of Broker Complete. That's where I met her. It's a firm specifically dedicated to the mortgage industry, helping mortgage brokers with their mortgage process, their journey, and how to optimize it. From that experience, she's also landed a role with the DLC Elite team as the VP of Training and Operations. In today's episode, we talk about all that experience. We actually even go further back. We talk about her origins in the fitness industry and some of the similarities and differences with the mortgage industry. We do talk about the importance of that client journey and how essential it is to really every part of your mortgage business. And then finally, we talk about really the importance of being surrounded by great people and the power of relationships. A lot of stuff to unpack here. It's a great episode. We'll see you on the other side. Hey, Karen, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, no complaints. Starting to feel kind of like summer-ish. I'm tentative in saying that because every time I've said that so far, we get like a cold day, but I'm hopeful at least. So we'll see.
Yes.
We'll see.
Today is a beautiful day out there. So
yeah,
it's coming.
Okay. Well, I'll hold you to that if it's not. But in any case, I'm really glad we're able to have this convo. I mean, we've known each other for quite a bit. Actually, I think you met Massimo first, right? Yep. Kind of between all that. So between me and Massimo, we've been working with you for years and years, and I thought it'd be a good convo. Obviously, you work with tech, I think, all day, every day, but that's not kind of your primary role necessarily. So I think that you can kind of provide pretty unique perspectives as it relates to the world of tech and mortgage. But maybe where we could start is, actually in the kind of pre-read, I always send out a form. You kind of mentioned you're in the fitness industry, and I didn't actually know that about you. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So maybe we could start there. Like, how did you start there? How did that end up kind of like leading to mortgage? Like, talk me through that story a bit.
Yeah. So for the industry I was in previous to mortgages, I was in for over 20 years, still dabbling in it for sure.
Still in. Okay.
Yep,
Nice.
Yeah. And so I owned a private personal training studio and a private spin studio. Okay. So that was 10 years of my life. I started out as just an aerobics instructor, step instructor, and it led me down the path into personal training and then opening the gym. And so I spent a lot of years, and now I still teach spin a couple times a week.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you like, you said you were an owner, right? So did you, okay, cool.
Yep. Yeah. So Defined Athletic Training was my gym. And then DAT Cycle, which was the acronym for Defined Athletic Training, was the cycle portion of it. And I ran it, operated it, had staff, the whole gamut. I was one of the first, box gyms. There was about 5 of us in the city of London.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, first spin studio in London. So it was quite the adventure. It was honestly an amazing time in my life.
Yeah, good. Is it kind of like, I'm just curious, kind of bring it back to the broker, like when you say owner, is that kind of like a brokerage owner, and then you would have kind of agents under you that would have like their own fitness practices? Okay. No, completely
no. Just I owned, a sole proprietor, owned the company. And then I had trainers that worked underneath me. They were subcontracted, they had their own book of, their own clientele, but they were managed under Defined Athletic Training.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was just curious if that was part of the parallel, how it made maybe the switch to mortgage a little bit easier, but no, it's not that at all.
Yeah, no, the transition to mortgages honestly was bumpy for sure, because people had always known me as their personal trainer. They're confident. their therapist
Yeah.
for the most part. So making that jump into the mortgage industry, I had to rebrand myself
Yeah.
into the financial world. So it was a little bit just the marketing involved, and the how I was protecting myself was quite a bit of change for sure.
Yeah, but I guess I'm just curious because I think, and I've heard it more than once where, brokers I talk to are like, "Hey, my part-time job is also a therapist," right? And we
Yeah,
get that.
yeah,
Yeah, we get
yeah,
that, right? Sometimes. So, I mean, while probably like from an outward branding perspective, probably it was a little bit bumpy, but maybe some of the, I guess, core functions. Because at the end of the day, I know less about fitness, but on the mortgage side, it's a lot about just building trust, right? And I
yes.
would think maybe fitness is the same way. So I don't know. Is that the case?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So there was so many transferable skills. Like when it came to marketing, the skills that I had with marketing, what was different was just learning how to market myself differently, just getting into a new rhythm of how I was projecting myself. But as far as, client communication and managing a business and dealing with overhead and dealing with employees and talking to people and speaking to people and getting up in front of people, definitely all those skills transferred into this position that I'm in now. For sure, it helped me along the way.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah, right. Like I think some of those core skills, especially what it's kind of like that you mentioned about being, hey, one of the few studios in London, kind of that, I guess, community feel, right? At the end of the day, I
Yeah,
think again
yeah.
that's a
It
lot.
was
Yeah.
we had an incredible shout out to all my DAT cycle and to find out the training clients. We had an incredible community. I did a lot of team training, hockey training, that kind of thing. So I definitely had carved out a unique spot within the fitness industry and created some incredible relationships. Could be sometimes a little clicky for sure. But we also
Okay.
see that in the
That's
mortgage
also, yeah,
industry.
I was gonna say another similarity, right? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Uh,
One thing I don't know. I've honestly myself, I've never had a personal trainer, and maybe I should. But the biggest thing I see with something like a personal trainer, why I do it. I mean, you could go on YouTube and you could see every single like possible workout. Hey, whatever, shoulder workout, this chest workout, that
yeah.
legs, whatever, right? You can find them all. Like the biggest thing whenever I've been tempted is just like more like that accountability partner type where it's like, okay, I can't not go to, like, I'm literally paying someone to tell me what to do and to yell at me for an hour. And, that's something that maybe as we talk about the similarities and differences, and then I promise we can move on from the fitness side of things is, I think that's something I hear a lot of kind of what's missing maybe, or I think also maybe why people choose to join certain brokerages, right? It's not all about the fees, but it's, it can be about the community and the accountability that drives that. So, I mean, I guess again, that's just my question. Is that something that was maybe different where, okay, in the fitness world, there's this culture of accountability. I think maybe a little bit less so in the mortgage world, but I think we're getting better with it. What's kind of your take on that, I guess,
Well,
aspect of it?
I definitely think that that's how I've made a name for myself in the industry is
Mm,
bringing over, not that it wasn't existing there before, but I have dove in deep into the realm of accountability when it comes to the mortgage industry. So for myself, I have accountability groups for everything from my book club to a nutrition accountability group to when I was kind of trying to find my way in the mortgage industry, I paired with a couple of agents, Lynette and Jasmine, and we had a Monday morning accountability group where we held ourselves accountable to our business activities and our goals, and we would set them
yeah.
every single Monday and then come back and say, okay, how did this look? Did I get this done? What was the outcome? So we really held each other accountable for that. We dove deep into it. And then from that, I developed the Broco accountability call. So
Hmm.
that is an annual call that we do in January. It's well attended. And basically, you have to set up weekly a business development goal, lead generation goal, and business activity goal.
Hmm.
So, and then you're held accountable. It's usually a 6 week. We have a speaker on every single time, which has been incredible. The people I've gotten to know on that call really has just elevated myself and my career to another level.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's great. And yeah, I mean, I had a little flavor of that. I think, yeah, I was out
Oh,
with
hey, you were on my call. Yeah. Yeah.
I know when you're talking about the great speakers that came on the call, I was like, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Nice to speak to you.
actually, we
Yeah.
got so many requests for that for a part two. People
Good.
loved that call.
Okay. Yeah. It was me and Vivian, right?
Yeah.
From Velocity. So that's great. Yeah. Oh, I guess, I think it just maybe circling around to the accountability call. Cause yeah, I thought that was a great session. Sounds like you did a bunch of others. What kind of like reception do you get from that? I mean, it is, I think, a little bit unique. Like you
Yeah.
said, it's not that it was non-existent before, but maybe like having that structured of, hey, this is a program and you're signing up for it in like 6 weeks and you have to blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I think that's where it's a little bit unique. Well, how did I guess people react to that? Like, was
Well,
it
people
positive?
love it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've never had a negative comment about it. We're very strict. Like, if camera is not on, then you're kicked off the call. If you don't fill in
Okay.
your full
Okay.
text, you're
Yeah.
removed. So it's, we're pretty strict about that. The other thing is I come from a place of, I feel like if you can provide value with something that you're good at without a cost to people, especially people in the industry that are just getting in there and they're finding it a little bit overwhelming when it comes to cost. This is done with at no charge. So I think that's what a little bit of a difference in the industry. There are other calls and workshops and things that are available, but they tend to come with a cost. And even though we don't have a cost to it, the speakers and the people that we've been able to have on are truly amazing. So,
Hmm.
I'm really thankful for everybody who's made it out to this.
It's an interesting idea. I mean, I'm curious your take. Like, yeah, I think. Do you know Gary V? I'm sure you do. I mean, he's
Mm,
maybe not. Okay, he's like this big. He's in New York, I think, and he's all over. I don't know, social media and stuff. And he's a bit of a talker and whatever. You can Google him and you can see all his videos. But
okay.
he's got some good stuff. And one concept that he talks about is, as it relates to marketing, is he says, okay, he calls it, I don't know, it's like it's like use it with your hand and you give, and then you ask, right?
Yeah.
And he says that's kind of the way that is effective marketing, because if you're just giving something to someone, they're going to take it, they're going to be like, yeah, sure, whatever, I'll take it. But then as soon as you give, then you actually establish a relationship, a partnership, whatever it is. And he says do that 3 more times, because by the fourth time also what happens is that subconsciously, the person that you're giving things to feels
Yeah.
like they owe you something back. It's like a hardwired thing in our brain. Before we had money, before we had this,
Yeah.
it was all like the favor economy, right? So
Right.
you're building up the brownie points, so to speak, and then finally, hey, but it's time that you actually want something, you're in a very good position to maybe ask for it. So that's what I thought of when you were talking about, hey, we just kind of do this for free. I don't know if
Mhm.
that was kind of your mindset, where it's like, hey, I'm going to give. I'm going to kind of build up my presence in the industry. And then, hey, maybe one day I'll turn around and maybe ask something in return. Is that the way you thought of it? Or
I think one, to elevate myself in the industry for sure. I wanted to take my career to a certain place, and that has definitely helped me. But as far as for an ask, no, I think what I used it for was more myself to develop the skills, the speaking, the hosting, that kind of thing, to really put that to use and to challenge myself, to be in front of an audience like that and to think on the fly. So I think it was more for skill building
Mm,
for myself, and at the same time providing something to the mortgage industry for people who may be home alone and they're working
mm,
from home and they don't have that sense of community, or their brokerage is not providing the things that they need for connection, that.
mm.
So to give them that, because that just the comments and like the feedback and the friendships I've made through that call are so beyond worth any skill that I developed in that call. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. It's also one of those things too, where it's like, I phrase it as, hey, give, ask, but it's like, it's almost like I think too, almost like a karma thing too, where if, you give 3, 4 times, you almost don't need to ask. And whether it's something that someone's given you directly, or it's just like you said, the friendships that you make, it's like you get it back anyways. Right.
Yeah,
So
I think we
yeah.
can bridge that even into like the mortgage industry
Mm,
when you're dealing with clients and you're giving information, you're providing information to them, at no cost. You're counseling them through their situation. And then eventually, hopefully, you've gained their trust in order to actually complete the transaction, right? So there's
yeah.
a lot of give on social, a lot of give of your time, a lot of opening yourself up to show who you are as a person, and then hopefully getting that person's trust and being able to close the deal.
Yeah. Well, I think that's exactly right. And I think I think given the current state of the industry, it's like the trust, as you've put it, is going to be the most valuable currency. It's not about, hey, how quickly can you get my deal done? And it's not going to be about rate because that's so competitive now. It is going to be about that trust. And it's like, I'm working with you because I trust you, because I know that you have my best interests in mind.
Yeah.
And I think that's only going to increase over time. Right. I
Well,
think that's,
I agree. I think we're
yeah.
coming back around to where you'll really see the agents that excel are really working on developing their relationships and their book of business and nurturing them and giving to that book of business. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you say, I think that a lot of people, and maybe this is a not so subtle, maybe segue into some of the more tech stuff, when they say, hey, do you know what? I'd love to do that. I get it. But there's so many hours in the day, right? Like I need to get this deal done. I'd love to sit at an hour phone call with every single one of my clients, but then I could only do, 8 clients a day and I have hundreds. Like, I mean, it can be a tech or a non-tech answer, but what do you say to that when people, because I think it is a very common pushback and I get it, of course, right? What's kind of your thought when you hear that?
Well, then if you're at that level and you're working on your efficiencies, then that's where you utilize tech to come in and make sure that you have your process nailed down. You have the tech that you need that's going to allow you to efficiently do all of those deals. And then maybe as a complement to that, then you open up maybe on your social where you're exposing that personality or person you are so people can see it mass, or through your email communication and videos or podcasts that you do. So you're developing that relationship, but maybe not just like a one-on-one.
Yeah. Yeah, trying to do things a little bit, yeah, more at scale, right? And yeah, that can be, well, I mean, maybe to start on the marketing side of things, yeah, it's like usually maybe a newsletter or videos or yeah, podcasts or social. And yeah, I think, what do you think? I'm honestly curious. I don't have anything I think specifically in mind when I say this. I kind of see two types of social out there, and I think they're both good for different reasons. One is like the, maybe I'm Tom the agent and maybe I sign up for a service where I get maybe once a month a package, and it's like these are all your photos for the month with your face on it and your brand, and you post it and it's, happy Valentine's Day, and hey, there's a rate cut, and hey, it's Mother's Day, whatever, right? And it just kind of shows that you're doing things. And then there's the other type of social that I see, which is, people are like, basically what you're describing, which is almost like giving that advice, but en masse, where they have their phone out and they're speaking, they're talking about, yes, the rate announcement was today, but like this is what I think about it, and this is my advice, and this is how you can think about it. And I think there's a time and a place for both of those. But do you kind of see those two things? That's kind of been my experience when I go onto Instagram and all the mortgage brokers that I follow, I kind of see those two different categories, and I'm
Yeah.
curious if you see the same.
I do too. I'm not going to profess to be a social media expert by
Okay.
any means.
Yeah.
I don't, it's not my thing. I do it for work and I try to leave it alone for the most part for my personal
Yeah. Smart.
mental
Yeah.
health. But
Yeah.
I can speak to, even just from our brokerage level, the stagnant posts where they're like information posts, but they're social square and there's not really, they're giving some information. The amount of clicks and activity if through the analytics that we got on those, as opposed to our photos and our events and even if we messed up on we messed up on a contest one time, and then
Did you?
the
Okay.
people like watched it over and over and over again. So it's like we still provide,
What'd
those
you mess up? I'm just curious. Is it embarrassing or yeah?
will draw for the life of us. So just
Okay.
bloopers, but people,
Yeah.
that makes
Yeah.
you real and it
Yeah.
allows you to connect with the audience. So what we see and when we interact with our agents and when we're posting that kind of stuff, the engagement is so much greater. The grid, maybe it doesn't look like beautiful and pretty and laid out and
Yeah.
but the activity and the clicks and the watches are just, we can't compare. We have to keep going that route.
Yeah, you have to go that route. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something that I think a lot of folks, and I'm not a social media expert either, but I mean, we're just kind of in this rabbit hole now, so we'll continue
Yeah.
down it a bit, which is, I think that you're right in that people want to see that human element. Like, I think a lot of people are scared pulling out their phone. It's got to be perfect, this and that. It's almost, the imperfection that's almost a little bit more appealing. And especially as I think content is going to get more and more easily generated by computers, AI, whatever you want to call it, that it's actually the imperfections, the things that I show you, actually, still a human over here
Yeah.
that are going to be appealing to people, because there's just going to be so much noise. So I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, neither of us are social media experts, and we're trying to give advice maybe, but I think it's it's a good call out, right? Where it's like those, some of those ones where like, oh, we messed something up, and maybe we'll just post it, end up being the ones that are most appealing, I think, for that reason. So
Yeah, and I think it's
yeah.
good to recognize when it's not your wheelhouse and it's something you need to bring someone in to help you
Mm.
out with, or that you need to deep dive and educate yourself to make yourself a little bit better at it. So yeah, I definitely think recognizing when you aren't an expert in a subject is just as important as being an expert.
Yeah, well, let's go down that, I guess, that this rabbit hole now to another one of, I guess just that topic of, again, and maybe on your experience, or maybe how you guys kind of treat it at the brokerage now, where if there is that agent out there and they kind of raise their hand and they say, whether it's, us talking about, marketing and how to do that en masse, maybe it's, social media stuff, maybe don't reach out to us, but, in any case, and maybe that's a topic, or I don't know, just anything in general, whether it's just training or what it might look like. What would you suggest, or what's kind of your guys' approach as it relates to that? Because I think that kind of goes a little bit hand in hand with what you're talking about with that, agent maybe who's sitting home alone, and they're kind of saying, God, I'd love to be better at this or that, but is it on me to figure this out? How do I kind of figure that out? And yeah, maybe you personally, or how you guys kind of do it at the brokerage level now, like how do you work through, or how do you kind of coach through that particular scenario?
So business development and coaching is a huge piece of our brokerage. No matter if you're an agent just brand new coming in, just getting your feet wet, or you're an experienced agent, hire producer that's looking to scale their business, whatever, where we excel is identifying where our agents need help and where we can assist to put things in place for them to make their processes more efficient. So whether that's a new agent training program that all the new agents have to go through, one-on-ones with me, with a mentor, or it's sitting down and really analyzing someone's business plan or their full mortgage process from lead generation to 5 years post close. We identify where we can help them either scale or get better at their business process. So from a brokerage perspective, so that's, we try to take off their plate so many things. Like our agents shouldn't be sitting trying to figure out social squares, so those are provided for them. Training programs on how to get them up and running, as well as marketing materials, things like that. Their CRM, we do all their base CRM stuff. They have a full CRM set up for them that's branded to them. So we do a lot. We try to take a lot off the plate and then teach them, if they want to learn, go in deeper into those realms, or find experts that are going to come in and train them on it. So that, yeah, we definitely have incredible training programs over here.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that, a hugely important one that I think that, people don't do. I think, sometimes, their whole career is that one part of kind of like that mapping it out, where it's like, okay, Tom, the client comes to you. What do you do? What do you do first? What do you do second? Okay, if he does this, then that, and taking that all the way through from, the intro email from the realtor to the discovery call to the application to the pre-approval to the whatever, blah blah blah, all the way through to close, and then post close. There's such a, there's, you start doing that activity and you realize there's, like, in your head you're like, oh, that's easy, that's simple, and then you start getting it down on a piece of paper and it's just like, oh my god, no, it's not as simple as I thought. And the reason I want to dig into that, because I know just in my experience with you, that's, I think, one of your, in particular, your superpowers, I would say, where you're very good at, breaking that down and then translating that into, okay, well, this is an area you can get more efficient and this is how you do it. This is whatever, right? And finding those opportunities. So without maybe revealing your secret sauce if you don't want to, but if someone's like, hey, I'd love to do that, right? And maybe they could call you and you could walk them through it. I mean, whatever that looks like. But let's just say there's somebody like, I want to try this myself. What's kind of that process that or what's that thought process when you kind of, maybe someone in your brokerage comes to you and says, hey, I really want to do this exercise. What's kind of what does that process look like in terms of mapping it out for you?
So as far as our brokerage, that process is mandatory for our agents coming in. We go through step by step. We break it all down. And as far as what I love, my passion, and what I have found that I have some skill that I'm good at, is really breaking down that process and but also being able to articulate it so that agents can understand the process and take it away so that it's ingrained and it starts to become a habit. And it's one thing to map it all out, but if you never follow it, then, you know, it won't benefit you. So we really try to instill in our agents a baseline process from lead generation to 5 years post close. What does that look like from all your touch points with the client, with the lawyer, with the realtor, with your templates? We provide all of that at a baseline. And that's just come from the skills that I've developed going through this with larger teams and higher producers, and, you know, with myself, in the mortgage industry, and collaboration with other agents. And it's nothing new. There's nothing new. It's just that being able to communicate it to new agents or to agents that already have a process, but maybe just don't really fully understand how to articulate it and map it out, right? So, and doing that with patience and kindness, and, you know, everybody learns in a different way. So really figuring out how to get this instilled in the agent in the best way possible for their learning style so that they can action it.
Yeah. No, that's such a good point where it's like, okay, there's nothing new, right? In the sense that you say, okay, you know, a process is a process, and generally it's, you know, step, 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 step. But if I could put it this way, I would say that, you know, each person, each individual approaches that same underlying process differently, right? It's the same object, but you could be coming at it from here. And then the real trick, the real hard part is, I mean, maybe in your role, but even, you know, as an agent, it's like, well, you're seeing it this way, but I'm seeing it this way. How do we bridge that gap, right? How do we kind of do that, right? And I think that's the tough part.
Yeah, but that's the fun part. So
That's fun for you. Okay,
that's
yeah.
what gets exciting. So it's like you can have the baseline and all those templates and the scripts, but what is your true process? So how do we turn that baseline into you? What are the campaigns that you want to have developed for your clientele? How do you want to speak to your clientele? What is your avenue that you prefer, and how are we going to incorporate that so it's the most efficient communication happens? How do you take your notes? How are you processing your file? You know, all of those things are so individual to every single agent. So that's where the magic happens, so that you can develop such an efficient, fully mapped out process for an agent. And then once they have that, that's when they implement it into a CRM or into even the spreadsheet to build it out, whatever technology they're going to use to be able to build the systems that they need to scale their business.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's important to approach it that way too. I think that's such an important piece of advice that we always give, and we've maybe learned it the hard way, where you do the process first, right? And you figure that out and you do all that. And then only after you've kind of gone as far as you can go with that, you say, okay, how can I say either tech or team can help you, right? Where it's like, okay, maybe it's a piece of technology that can do it. Or maybe it's, hey, I bring in a team members, whether it's another broker or maybe an assistant or whatever it might be. How could tech or team help me? And I think a lot of times, and especially in this AI era, people come to us and say, hey, my buddy just, you know, started using a tool. I want to use it. Right. And then, you know, you kind of get back and you say, well, what do you want to use it for? Right. And then, you know, oftentimes, sometimes, and maybe I'll just say sometimes, there's no response, right? It's just like, no, I want to use this cool thing. I mean, we get it a lot too from the Blue perspective, where some people come in and say, hey, does Blue have AI? Let's say, and we'll say, well, for what? Why do you need it? And again, it's what's it for? What part of your mortgage journey, to bring it back, would AI specifically help with or address? So I know that you kind of mentioned that that's something that you've kind of seen before too. But maybe you could just talk about it a bit more. And okay, when someone comes to you with something like that, I don't know if it happens or if you have a specific story, how do you kind of walk them back and say, okay, well, yes, that's a cool tool, but what problem does it actually solve?
Right. So that's, you just answered it. Like, what problem are we solving here? And what research have we done to ensure that this is actually going to solve the problem? And have you identified what that problem is?
Yeah, right. Does the problem even exist? Right? Yeah.
For sure. Again, I'm not going to say that I am like a tech genius or I know any, like, all the tech available, but what I'm good at is if it's presented to me and somebody wants to implement it in their business, I pick it up very quickly to be able to do that for them. So they don't have to spend the time themselves. They can focus elsewhere instead of trying to learn a language that they don't need to learn in the business, and they can focus on a book of business. So when people come to me with what's the best tech, and like, I never go down that route. I focus on
Right.
my clients and what they need, and then if we can find something that helps them make their process more efficient and put in the processes and systems in place, then we go down that road and we do it individually.
Yeah. Do you ever kind of, I guess, maybe if we're just going to continue down this kind of line of thinking of, okay, let's say, and again, maybe I don't know if you have a specific example where it's like, okay, I've mapped out a process. Okay, now we've identified that the best way to address this step is maybe we want to, I don't know, bring in maybe an assistant or a virtual assistant or something, maybe help here. And maybe this step, maybe the brokerage can help. I don't know if that, there's services that you guys provide, or hey, maybe this step, a piece of technology can help. And you maybe go out of that meeting, you're excited, you're high fiving, and then a week later, a month later, you go back to the agent, and they're kind of back to their old ways, and they said they didn't do it quite the way I wanted, or I just got lazy and I kind of switched back. Does that happen? Like, how do you? And maybe this again goes back to the accountability part at the beginning. How do you, after you've kind of laid out that whole journey and identified these pain points, how do you actually make sure that they're followed through with? And I guess as a follow-up, when do you realize, or how do you realize, okay, actually maybe this isn't the right thing? When is the right time to persist, and when's the right time to maybe switch gears?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a bit of a
So
tricky question.
no, I got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So I would say for the clients that come to me through Broco, my success rate is very high. So I
Mm.
almost actually for a while there took on a little bit too much. So it was taking a
Okay.
little bit of time.
Yeah.
Those people, the people that have come to me with the success rate is really good because they come knowing that this is an investment. It
Mm.
is not a quick journey. We're going to take them to a whole nother level in their business. So they have the time. I make them very aware of what's involved. I find when I do setups or CRM setups or going through process and people are getting it for free,
Mm.
the chances that they actually action that is much smaller than the person who's really like budgeted and put some thought and effort into scaling their business and using those services. Very different group for sure.
Mm.
And so with the brokerage, because we provide the CRM setups, it's up to me to have the follow through with our agents to continually check in to see if they're utilizing the resources that we have. So just to keep them accountable, to keep them on it, to
Mm.
answer any questions and get ahead of it before they get frustrated and they give it up. Right. So, and also ensuring that they fully understand what's going out, because it's one thing to just set it and forget it, but who,
Mhm.
like, what lawyer just has no idea of the communications that's going out to their clients?
Yeah.
Right. I would hope
Sure.
not.
Me too. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
have a really hard time just setting and forgetting and not understanding what's going through. So I think it's really important when you set these things up and you put the effort in that you understand what your client is receiving, the communication that you're putting out there, and how it speaks to you as a person.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. It's kind of almost a little bit like what I talked about at the beginning. Again, with accountability, where it's like, if I'm paying a trainer, I'm going to go and work out because I'm paying this trainer. But yeah, I mean, obviously things are the paradigm's a little bit different at the brokerage level, where it's like, no, we don't want to charge. We want this to be a service. We want this to not be something people need to think about. And so it's just finding new ways to make people accountable. And it sounds like that's a big part of, I just think, your role there, and finding ways to do that. Have there been any, I guess, I don't know what would be the right word for it, but kind of, unlocks, if you will, kind of, I don't know, cheat codes. That's, if you're a gamer, a video gamer, that might be what you'd want to say.
I'm
But
not
like,
a video gamer.
no, you're not. You look like one. No, I'm kidding. I know. I'm not either, to be honest. I'm not either. Massimo is. You
Mario
know.
Brothers, so that's what I can play.
Okay. Oh my God. I'm not either. I don't know if you caught it, but I'm not, I don't know why I said that. But in any case, what I mean by that is just something that, like, in this role, as you've developed and you're moving along and you're trying to find these ways where it's a new paradigm in the brokerage, but you still want to kind of keep people accountable, where it's like, wow, when I do this, it really works. Or, hey, when I can get this from certain agents, it really works. Have there been little things along the way where you're like, wow, okay, I'm doing this from now on?
Well, yeah, whenever we come across something that's new, we deep dive as a team to see if it would be beneficial for the team. We really look and see, like, especially if it's going to cost money, whether
Hmm.
that's something that we can figure out how to do without it costing money, or memberships for our agents or things like that, because there's always the new shiny thing that's coming out. But I think as far as the implementation and utilizing the systems that we provide, we, as much as we're going above and beyond to do that for our agents, we have really high expectations for the agents that are here.
Mm,
So we have an
interesting.
agents expectations form, and
Cool.
we want people that are really looking to take their businesses to the next level, or they're already at that point, right? So
Yeah.
or that we see the spark in that person that we can develop, we know the skills are there and we can help them develop.
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing too, because I think it also then relates back to, there's the culture of the brokerage, right? Where, I heard this thing, I think it was Steve Jobs somewhere, where he says, you know, B's like to work with C's because it makes them look good. C's like to work with D's because it makes them look good. But A's want to work with A's. The people who are at the top of the game want to work with people who are also at the top of the game, so they can challenge each other, right? And it's that mentality. I don't know if that's kind of part of what you have going on over there, but that's at least what I thought of when you said,
Yeah.
like, that's a pretty unique thing. I think that accountability form, or that what you actually get your agents to kind of sign themselves up for as they join your team,
It's
it kind of breeds that
very
culture.
aware of what we're looking
Yeah.
for from them. There's that whole saying of like, everyone will rise to the temperature of the room. So if you put
Mm,
those high producers, the industry leaders, you surround yourself with sometimes it can be a really scary place to be. I remember when I first started and I moved into an office, and my office mate, who's a really good friend of mine now, challenged me every day. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? And and I
yeah.
had to, so it forced me to learn because I wanted to move to his level, right? So
Yeah.
definitely finding those people in the industry that can help you get there. Yeah, the people who you surround yourself will ultimately take you to the level that you're going to be at.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things too, right? I mean, it's all the same phrases where it's like, okay, you look at the five, I think it's right, the five people you spend the most time with. It's
Yeah.
like that's who you drift towards. That's who you become,
Yeah.
basically, right? So choose those five people
And
wisely. Yeah.
it's okay to develop relationship, and you be the person that's raising their
Sure.
temperature. It's okay, but it's really understanding and identifying where you kind of sit and what the value is, and in those situations you're doing out of kindness, and you're giving, and you're reciprocating, you're getting stuff out of that relationship that's different than surrounding yourself with the
Yeah.
high level individuals that are already there.
Yeah, it's in any any relationship ever. Now we're being therapists again here, but it's like, people bring different things to the table, right? Okay, if, Bob is going to be, the high producer and kind of going to bring that, well, Gary, I'm just using these names, is going to be the person who is able to, I don't know, bring the very good, trust building, right? Those skills. And now Bob and Gary can kind of feed off each other and be better in both respects. So,
Partnerships is
yeah.
key in this industry. Like nobody's good at everything. So
Mm,
developing those relationships where you feed off each other and you're all bringing something to the table to make each other better. Yeah, it takes we talk about this all the time at our with our team, and it's basically recognizing opportunity when it comes across your plate. So understanding, recognizing relationships and what do they mean, and how is this making me a better person? How is this building my business? How is this making my personal life better? All of those things, being aware of them and
yeah.
identifying them and being able to name them, that puts you on a whole other playing field.
Yeah, it's such a crazy thing too. I always find where you also don't know where like certain relationships will treat. Like it can be like such the most powerful thing. Like I sometimes tell the story, and I don't know if I've even told you this, where for me and Massimo's partnership, Massimo is my business partner, and we've been working together for a long time now. But really, where this started was we actually used to live together, and where we used to live together because there was one party, one time we were both just looking for a place to move in Toronto, and we said, why not? Let's just move in together. And it's like if neither of us would have gone to that party and had that conversation, the rest of our lives would have been completely different, right? So it's the same point you're making about opportunities, and I think the biggest opportunities really exist in those relationships,
Yeah.
right? So
And
yeah.
I really believe people come into your life for a reason, and they're
Mm,
there for however long that they have a purpose for being there. So just being aware of that, and it recognizing when it's a good thing and maybe when it's not a good thing, just awareness when it comes to relationships, for sure.
yeah. Yeah, being open to it. Well, I think that's a good a place as any, and I'm very thankful for our relationship, Karen. I think you opened a ton of doors for us, so we really appreciate it and appreciate your time here. That flew by. It's always great chatting with you. I guess just before we wrap, if people want to learn more about you, learn more about Broco, learn more about the brokerage, I guess those are three separate things. But what would be the quick way to kind of get in touch with you and learn about all of the above?
They can go to brokercomplete.co, the website. You can find me on socials under Broker Complete, or with our social elite mortgage group, DLC Elite Mortgage Group. We're on Instagram. We're pretty active on there. You can check out the dlcelite.ca website, and our contact information's there. And yeah, you can work. We're all over the place. We're all over the place.
You can't not find her. Yeah, that's it.
You might find us at a party or two or an event with a cocktail. Yeah.
Sure, yeah, fair enough.
Easy to find.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's actually where I usually find you. No, just kidding. But
there's truth to that.
No, just teasing. But no, honestly, this is great, Ken. I really appreciate it, and we'll chat soon.
Amazing. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks.